Hello. There's straight up critters in here. Philosophy of the critter.
Hi, ma'am. Yeah. No. I played with you for like 2 hours before stream, so you wouldn't yell.
Attack streamer with beams? Oh, come on. Bug deontology. Virtue mouse sticks. A third thing. Meki is quite smart, but I don't think she has much to say about philosophy, unfortunately. Started playing Warframe again after 4 years because I remembered that I have the best frame in the game and everything else is just toys. Well, which frame do you think is the best? It's Vauban? Hi, James. Hi, Candy. Girl, help, I was reflecting on the things that are, and my thought was raised very high while my bodily senses were restrained. My bagel was quite yummy. Have a good day at work, Candy. Hi, cytoplasm. My green was upsetting. It's literally just like pesto sauce, but instead of being garlicky, it's spicy. I love Ashka. Hi, cytoplasm. Welcome to the stream. We're just going to podcast for a little bit while people filter in. Hi, CT. Is there any way I can write this off as architectural research? There's a lot of, like, Egyptian tombs that are... They have relevant inscriptions to Hermeticism on them. I don't know much about those, and we're probably not going to talk much about those today, but you can probably say that on your tax forms. Been watching since episode 1, but never logged into chat. Oops. That's fine. The last thing I care about here is, like, my numbers. I need those unique chatter numbers up. Please, everyone, hold hands. Nah, it's fine. We're just here to fucking... I know last time I said we would play Elden Ring, but I got fucking problems with that. Like, I have to upgrade my solid-state drive for my computer because the load times on Elden Ring were, like, getting real bad. We here to dunk on the Greeks with their excessive words. I think their words are very fine. I think they're nice. I think Koine is actually a very good language for philosophy. Listened to the Food Guesser stream yesterday while working on other stuff and discovered that it is not a good audio-only experience, so I'm excited to listen to philosophy lectures while drawing. Yeah! I want Philosophy Fridays to be a little more relaxing and chill. I just want to talk to people, have a little conversation. You know, I've been thinking. I've been reading a lot of these, like, professors that talk a lot about Hermeticism and this era of Western esotericism. A lot of them, like, work at colleges near me. And I think it would be fun if, eventually, I'm not saying this is going to happen anytime soon, but, like, fucking, like, you can just send Wouter Hanegraaff an email. I'm sure I could, like, have him on the show if I wanted to. Especially with an audience of people that are, like, genuinely excited to hear about his research and ask him questions. I'm sure that would be really fun for a professor. Hello, usually listening to this while working at a warehouse, but I've got today off so I can actually watch and chat along. Yay, nice. I'd love to get, like, crazy guest speakers. I'd love to get, like... I was talking about this with a friend the other day. I want to get Wouter Hanegraaff and Antoine Favre on, and I want to make them, like, play Quake, and whoever top frags, that's the true definition of Western esotericism. Thought Favre died? No, he's still alive, as far as I'm aware. Is he dead? That would suck if he died. Died in 2021? No! I was just listening to his interview on Schwepp. Oh. Well. Congratulations, Wouter Hanegraaff. You've top fragged here. Make local professors play multiplayer games with you? I kind of want to do that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. You guys are the type of perverts that would enjoy just, like, listening to a local history professor talk about their work, right? Hit Slavoj Žižek in this bitch? I probably could. Žižek is mid, yeah. Make local gamers discuss philosophy? Here's the thing. I know a lot of other streamers and whatnot. I really wanted to do... I thought it would be really fun to do a stream series where, like, one of my fighting game friends teaches me how to play Tekken while I teach them about Western esotericism. I thought that would be fun. I have a particular Tumblr user in mind that I want to stream that with. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. $1 William. $10 William. I don't know. I think there's a lot of room for being a sort of science communicator that, like, gets people excited for all the shit happening in the academic world right now. Get Donzo on. That'd be fun. Yeah, it'd be fun to talk to Dan. Does Danzo play Tekken? I'd have to... if I brought Danzo on, I'd have to find, like, some overlap between Western esotericism and, like, I don't know, historical firearms technology or some shit. I like when Zizek asked if the interviewer would like some fucking fruit juice or something. Yeah, he's funny. I think more philosophers should be like him. They should just, like, show up and give their weird opinion on shit. Get one of the fucking Warframe people on, ask them about the lore significance of orgone energy being involved with railjacks. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. That could be fun. She put her rubber penis in my plastic vagina. God, his accent is so hard to do, because he's got a fucking Slovenian accent, but he also has a very specific type of lisp. There are a million don't get shot spells and demoniac bullet spells. I know there's a lot of spells for, like, evading weapons. Are there any, like, specific spells for ballistics, like anti-ballistic spells? There's gotta be, right? I've never really thought about that before, but that's interesting. I'd be interested in looking that up. Spell to make streamers sick, please? No! Stop! Stop! Don't enfeeble me! What's your fucking problem? It is not urgent! Go away! Ugh. I made a tasty bagel for breakfast. you guys eaten good things this morning? I hope you have. Looked at a book on local folklore and it said you can unhex a gun using desecrated indigenous remains. I don't think that's true. Least racist 1850s American spell. Had mini strudels, sandwich with fish eggs. She hermit on my tism until I fucking It's okay. It's also not hermeticism, it's hermetism. We have channel points now? I'm still not entirely sure what channel points are or how they work. I have made and eaten banana bread. Lovely. Recused myself to a cave to ponder the error of my waves. You don't really recuse... This is ancient Greece. You don't really recuse yourself to a cave. Like, it's not a punishment. You're not in trouble. That's valuable real estate in ancient Greece. I don't have channel coins. A tomb and buldak ramen. My tummy gonna explode. That's good-ass breakfast, though. Channel points are currency that we accumulate by watching. We use them to highlight messages and do other channel rewards. Oh, fun. And that just turned on now? That's cool. Okay, okay. So it lets you do interactable fun stuff. Emily has a channel reward that throws a bike at her model. That's fun. Yeah, we have James' tomato throw thing. My stomach hurts. I have to drink kefir with jam. Oh my god, the other day I had a fucking nugget mishap where I thought it would be a really good idea to toss some, like, oven frozen nuggets in some fucking Nashville hot seasoning. So I made the seasoning and I tossed the nuggets in before I put them in the oven, and then they came out, and unfortunately they were really soggy and gross, but I was really hungry, so I ate them anyway, and for some reason they were crazy spicy, like way spicier than Nashville hot seasoning. I think I added way too much pepper. And it fucked up my tummy for like 3 days. And it got to the point where I went to the store to get some fucking kefir for my stomach. And I brought it home and I cracked it open. I took one sip and I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever eaten. This potion is healing me. And I just sat there staring out the window drinking an entire thing of kefir in like 5 minutes. It was a fucking health potion. Like, you ever taken a bite of something and realized that you're deficient in a vitamin, and whatever you just took a bite of has a bunch of that vitamin in, and your body is like, more. That's what it felt like. That's absolutely what it fucking felt like. I was drinking this delicious blueberry kefir, and it was like a health potion. Mute 1022? No, that's never happened to me. Mods, ban that guy. I get that with fish a lot. I assume it's zinc I need. It's also omega-3s with fish. That's the only source of omega-3s that you can, like, most people get in their diets. You can eat that, or, like, a shitload of walnuts. I don't think my body knows what a vitamin is. You have to change your lifestyle or something bad will happen. You're gonna get in trouble. Be kind to your body, my friend. It's the mercury. Ate beef tartare so good it solved my anemia. Real. Beef tartare is one of those foods that seems like it shouldn't be good, and then you actually try it and you're like, hold up, this is delicious in a way that I've never really seen another dish be good before. I think the chemically cooked foods are very slept on. I'm a big proponent of ceviche. I love my raw slop. It's not raw, it's been chemically cooked. It uses acid to induce the cooking process chemically instead of using heat. It's very cool. Hell yeah, ceviche slaps. So much like Mexican seafood is slept on. It doesn't really extend past fucking... Like, you get some in America, you get some in other places in South America. No one's doing octopus ceviche over in Europe, you know? That shit's good as hell, though. Don't think I've tried beef tartare, but I do enjoy rare beef to a concerning degree. You can't eat stuff like that if you are majorly immunosuppressed. Learned that the hard way. Ooh, buddy. Yeah, that can be a danger. I don't know. I'm always interested in, like, the type of food from a culture that doesn't really make its way out of that culture. That shit, especially when it's really popular within that culture. Like, that shit's fascinating to me. That's the shit that I always really want to try. Like, especially over here in the States, we don't have much... Like, we have Indian food, but we don't have, like, a crazy amount of Indian food. And recently I've been reading about, like, the history of Indian cuisine and, like, how all that shit developed. And a lot of the most popular Indian dishes you just don't see in the States. Like, you go around, try and find some fucking vada pav. I had a whitefish al pastor in Texas, and it sounds odd, but it was one of the best things it was even possible to eat. Fucking people talk so much shit on Tex-Mex. Have you gotten the chance to play the Oblivion Remastered Edition yet? Nah, dog. I'm not doing that shit. Do I have to try it and find out now, or can I do it later? Whenever we hang out, I will, like, make you Tex-Mex food, James. I'll fly across the country and make you Tex-Mex. Oh, yay! Oh, yay! You have to eat it. We'll experience the biggest burrito. Not popular food from other countries? Okay, teleporting sarma to you now. Check your mail in the coming years. I don't even know what that is. I'm excited to learn. I love learning about new foods. Hold up. Hold up. Oh, I've seen these bitches. Yeah, it's fucking... Yeah. It's the... These don't look like... Are these grape leaves? But yeah, it's got that Eastern Mediterranean swag. Yeah, it's like dolmas. Mincemeat and rolled up cooked cabbage leaves. Yup, that's some good shit. Oh, I've had aligo before. That shit's good. That is one of the most filling things I've ever had. When I was in Georgia, they had this thing that was literally... It was... fuck. It was like, It was like aligo. It was like... But instead of cheese and potatoes kind of blended together into a big, wonderful, sticky paste thing, it was like... It was cheese and millet that had been milled together into kind of a nice gummy texture. Shit was good, but I had like one bite and I could not eat anymore. It was so filling. Maybe the most like peasant food I've ever had, where it was just like, you need one bite of this and it will fill you up for an entire day. The paste. Sounds badass. I want to go back to Georgia so bad. Hello, C to the T. Hello. I love the paste foods. Nah, it's not a good time to go back to Georgia right now. There's a lot of like Russia's like occupying the northern 3 provinces of the country so they can't join NATO or the EU. Waiter, more paste, please. Oated meal with some brown sugar or blueberries. Yup. My problem with oatmeal, I like oatmeal. My problem with it is that there's only... You gotta figure out a way to make oatmeal so that you're not conscious of the fact that you're eating gruel. Because it's kind of gruel. I mean, I learned the other day that the definition of gruel is flour and water. And oats are just like one step removed from that. Yeah, it has a gruel-like aspect. You have to go glute mode. Well, you gotta add something to it, like brown sugar, fruit. You gotta find something to make it not just brown gruel. Skill issue, I love eating oat gruel. Yeah, but you don't just eat like unsugared plain oat gruel. Right? That's not good for you. That's not good for you mentally. Oat gruel is bad for your mental, dog. I made myself my best attempt at... Oh, congee, yeah. When I was feeling sick once, despite never having it before, filled me with such a feeling of eating a childhood comfort food. Great paste. Yup. Wildkip, first time chat. Gruel for the ghoul. That's an excellent first time chat. Well done. Polenta. Yeah, that's a paste-ass meal. You know what's even more gruel-like than oatmeal? Grits. Yup. I'm partial to grits. I understand that if you grew up eating it, that's like, it's gotta be comfort food, but there's just so many other options for breakfast, especially in America, in the South. Grits so nice, I eat them twice. That's honestly fucking true, dude. Like, more people need to be in that mindset. Like, I've had good grits before, and I was like, yeah, I get it. I get it. I'm not necessarily going to go out of my way to have this, but if I'm served a bowl of grits for breakfast, I'm not sending that back to the kitchen. That shit's good. Sad oat gruel is when I eat and I'm experiencing an I'm hungry and I don't want to experience a food moment. Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Grits for like a weekend hangover brunch? Nah. You need a little bit of grease for hangover food. In my opinion, the best hangover food is fried chicken. Or pad thai. Pad thai is an amazing hangover food. Ale is fermented gruel? Yeah. I see it. This is reminding me I haven't had buttery rye porridge since I was a kid. There's a lot of like Northern Europe porridges, just kind of slop meals that it's always kind of a gamble for me. You know, you guys have a lot of like staple crop slop meals with very little in the way. A shrimp and grits waffle, powerfully stoned once, and I'm still chasing that dragon. You know it, brother. Northern Europe has mastered the slop. Yup. Northern Europe does really good, like, complex pickled roots. I feel like that's one of the most flavorful things you get in, like, Northern European food is, like, root cellar type shit. Pickled things I cannot understand. I love pickled things. You know what opened up pickled foods for me was fucking Mexican cooking. But that's also just, like, what's around me and, like, what I grew up on. It was, like, a lot of, like, Southern California Mexican food. And if you've never had, like, escabeche, like, spicy pickled vegetables, that shit's amazing. That's one of my favorite snacks. Pickled shark goes hard if you open your mind. I don't even know what that would taste like. I've heard that shark has a very, like, jelly-like texture that a lot of people don't fuck with. Wish I liked pickled things, but I can't deal with the vinegar. A lot of it is, like, way too intense. You don't just, like... There's a lot of things that you can't just eat straight out of the can, you know? Like, I've never understood just, like, getting a pickle fork and eating that shit right out of the jar. That's not me. But, a little bit of pickled spice, like jalapeno pickled onions on some tacos. Yeah, that's amazing. I'll eat that shit. But it's got to be cut with some fat, you know, or that's going to fuck up my tummy. My dad makes an absolutely killer pickled red onion. That is the shit right there. My aunt is Norwegian, and my uncle love cooking. It's great. We make some pork belly thing with crunchy skin for Christmas, and sometimes... Ooh. Crunchy pork belly skin. That sounds kind of like... There's a lot of Mexican food like that. Eat pickles from the jar a lot. I can too. My tummy's just a little more sensitive than that. You're just built different. Pickled watermelon rinds. I've been meaning to try that. I don't know where, like, what cuisine is that from? Standing in front of my fridge, wrapping various Italian deli meats around whole gherkins stoned out of my mind. Yeah, that's a stoned-ass meal. Pickled beets on a salad? Yup. Need to get my stew game on again. Got some moose meat in the freezer. Hell yes! I'd try some moose meat. Some stewed moose meat. Gherkin is a crazy word. It's awesome. It rules. I have no quarrel with the gherkin, okay? Moose stew does sound hearty as fuck. God, you know what I really want to fucking try? There's so much, like, indigenous Alaskan, northern Canadian food that sounds really good as fuck. Like, I remember reading that, like, a lot of the like, a common dessert for the far, far northern tribes was, like, little bit of snow, little bit of honey, mashed up blueberries. Like, that sounds good as fuck. That's an amazing dessert right there. I want to try that so bad. I also want to try Wish Wish, that, like, Native American, like, mashed acorn meal shit. That sounds good as fuck. Jerkied meat and berries is so good. Yup. I don't know the name of it. Probably not hard to make a variant with that shredded ice. Yeah, probably. Like, I also want to try pemmican. Pemmican seems pretty good. Although I've had, like, a camping version of pemmican before, and it's not bad. Make it with seal fat. You can use Crisco in a pinch. Interesting. Yeah, fry bread's delicious. Fry bread is just straight good. I'm specifically interested in, like, the far northern Like how they get a lot of their nutrients from fucking eating specific raw bits of specific animals. Like, I bet you could, if you arrange that shit like a nice charcuterie platter, you know, cut it up into nice bite-sized pieces, presented it all nice, like, that sounds good as fuck. It is funny seeing the pictures of, like, you know, like a little 6-year-old girl in like a big ass fur coat, like elbow deep in a dead deer. It's like, yeah, that's just fucking breakfast. That's good as hell. Aleister Crowley was convinced that eating live oysters would get you high. I'm never sure if Crowley was like serious about anything he said. He's kind of always serious, always joking. Probably get you something. I gotta say, fucking... I don't always fuck with oysters. Like, bad oysters are real nasty, but good oysters are real good. He's serious only when he's right. Yeah. Alright. We actually have to fucking... Let's get this shit going. Alright. So, let's see. Today I wanted to play the index, because I need fucking credits for shit, so that'll be easy to talk over. If you all remember... or if you're part of the Discord, which I believe there's now an ! Discord command if you're not in the Discord. Join up on that. You'll know that the homework for this week was the Corpus Hermeticum, specifically the Copenhagen translation of the Corpus Hermetica. Now, before I really jump in, do you guys have any, like, burning questions about the Hermetica that you really wanted to ask me? Because it's a pretty complicated subject, right? A lot of it's very diverse. Do you think Hermes and Amon kissed? Maybe. Also, how's the sound? We're basically just going to be doing this for a couple hours. I have a question about something the book mentions that's not Hermetica, if that counts. Yeah, no, fucking throw it up. Didn't have time to get around to the reading, but I got it in my notebook and pens, ready to take notes of the interesting bits. It's long as fuck. I did not read the entire Hermetica. I brushed up on some of my favorite scholarship and touched on the big ones, but I did not read the entire Hermetica. Don't you worry. So, I think we ought to just jump in here. So, how many of you have heard of Hermeticism? Oh, wait. Sorry, May has a question. How actually related are the practical and philosophical Hermetica? Is there any likely overlap in authors who are reading at the time? That is an excellent question. If you wanted somebody who's already read the Hermetica uncommented, I got a blog for you. Oh, yeah. I mean, I got plenty of scholarship, but I'm not, like, against it. If you got a link, post it in the book club. Vaguely aware. Raised hand emoji. So, okay. Storia Hermes Trismegistus. It basically starts with the fact that Greek people have been in Egypt since like 700 BC. You know, they're right across the pond from each other. Right on the first page of the introduction, Copenhagen mentions Isis, whose worship has already begun to spread from... Whoop! Hang on. Sorry, had to kill a man. Whose worship has already begun to spread from Egypt through the Mediterranean basin, which I'd never heard of, but seems interesting. Seems like a parallel to what's happening with Hermes and the material that's actually being discussed. You gotta remember that the entire Mediterranean was extremely syncretic. Like, the practices interacted and overlapped all the fucking time. That's actually where the whole myth of Hermes Trismegistus comes from. If you've never heard the term before, Hermes Trismegistus means Hermes the Thrice Great. And where this comes from is that you've got Greek people in northern Egypt, and the way that religion worked in the way that religion worked in ancient Greece was you weren't allowed to worship other gods except for the Greek gods. However, they did believe that the Greek pantheon appeared in other forms to other peoples, right? So obviously Hermes would appear to Egyptians as an Egyptian. That just makes sense, right? But there's only Hermes. There's only the Aeonic gods and the Olympian gods, right? So the thing is that the Greek pantheon doesn't really have an easy parallel for Thoth, the Egyptian god of knowledge and magic, right? Who gave humanity words and the natural sciences, right? Like that was Thoth's whole thing. He's the god of scribes. One of the things you do to worship Thoth is you pour out a little bit of your ink onto the ground or like some ritual bowl for Thoth, right? And Hermes is like the closest they have, but he's also not a perfect parallel. So squeezing the two together was a little more difficult than like finding just your god of the dead or your god of war. Those are pretty easy. And so there became this idea of the Egyptian Hermes. Kind of meant something like when an ancient person says, what are we talking about? We're talking about Hermeticism, my friend. Yeah, ink libations rules. Yeah, ink libations was one of like the first actual practices that I did myself. So this idea of the Egyptian Hermes became a little more different than the Greek Hermes in a lot of ways, right? You gonna tell jokes with Isis or take notes with the Ibis? Maybe, if we get there. So, there's a lot of theories as to, like, there's this figure, we'll say, that starts showing up in the literature of, like, the Egyptian Hermes or Hermes the Thrice Great. And he's a god, and he's a man, and he's a demigod, and he's the teacher of Moses, and the plagiarist of Moses, and a student of Moses, and just a random mage, and, like, gets referred to as, like, everything under the sun. There's no consensus on what exactly Hermes was, the Egyptian Hermes was. Everyone seems to disagree. Everyone seems to disagree on what exactly this guy was. However, there was a bit of a consensus that at some point there was a guy named Hermes Trismegistus, or was called Hermes Trismegistus, who was a real guy who wrote things, right? What did he write? Kinda everything. Hermes and Thoth was the god that gave us writing and all of that shit, so, and magic and astrology. So there's a lot of different treatises attributed, guy as in human man, yeah, or demigod, or god, or something. We don't really know. More like stink libations, set gang. The fastest to ever do it. Maybe. So, it's possible that there was, at some point, a guy named Hermes that people understood as like a real guy. We don't know for sure, though. If you remember from one of our previous episodes, when we were talking about the pseudo-Aristotelian corpus, that is the body of literature attributed to Aristotle that was definitely not written by Aristotle, you gotta remember that in the ancient Greek world, clout, like academic clout, came from one of two places. Either tradition, like this is just what everyone knows and we've always been doing this for a million years, or legendary teachers like Plato and Aristotle. if you had an idea, you wanted people to go along with it, you had to make the claim that it was either like, this is present in traditional knowledge, or Aristotle said this. There's a lot of that in the Hermetic corpus, right? There's a lot... I think this is my interpretation, right? There's a lot of arguments, like... one of the main sources we have on this is a guy named... a scholar named Festugier, who has the... has a theory that, like, all the extant Hermetic writing we have was part of the same body of literature. You know, it was all understood as being part of a Hermetic tradition. There were people who called themselves Hermetics, and this was part of their teachings. It was part of their, like, academic curriculum. There's evidence, you can argue for that, you can argue against that. It's not entirely clear, right? This is that syncretic idea. Yes, because, okay, if you have a sage who is both Egyptian and Greek and was occasionally claimed to be related to Moses, you know, if you've got Egypt, Greece, and Judaism in there, those are all the main ingredients of Western culture, Western philosophy. And so if you have this idea of, like, if there's one guy who is knotted up in all philosophy and religion, that's a real good guy to cite if you've come up with some ideas on, say, astrology or the wisdom of herbs and stones. And you can't really just say, I came up with this, but you can say that Hermes Trismegistus came up with it. He's got clout. They're gonna create a pseudo-apocryphonic corp... Yeah, that's kind of what it was, in my opinion, right? How old is the Hermes taught Moses claim? Because I always figured that idea came a couple centuries later. Almost everything about this came a couple centuries later. Like, the other thing you have to remember with talking about the Hermetic corpus, as if that's a... if you're making the claim that that's a thing that existed and was understood by people back in 700 BC, that's a pretty tough claim to make, because we don't actually know when a lot of these texts were from. If you read the scholarship, it's like, oh yeah, the Hermetic corpus, it's from somewhere around 700 BC to like 400 AD. It's like, think of that gap now. Imagine having a book and it's like, it could have been written anywhere between, like, the reign of Charlemagne back in, like, the 10th century, or it could have been written, like, last year. We don't know. It's very, very difficult to say anything concrete about the Hermetic corpus, but while it can't necessarily be defined, it can be described. There are common themes and overlaps that you can make very... you can draw interesting conclusions now. Gotta go to class now, see you in the VOD. Catch you later! Hi, VOD watchers. Where was I? So, okay. So the Hermetics being present in the Renaissance and Assassin's Creed is actually more... Oh, no. Okay, that... So, okay. The Hermetic corpus was written, like, somewhere between ancient Greece and, like, the beginning of the Byzantine Empire. Once you hit the Renaissance, right, you get Marsilio Ficino and Pico della Mirandola, who are... You know, this is the Holy Roman Empire. This is Italy and the Holy Roman Empire. And they had the wild hair up their ass and were like, we're going to revive Plato's Academy right here in Italy. And there was one guy, like, so they rediscovered a lot of the Hermetic corpus, right? They rediscovered Plotinus, and they were doing all these retranslations of like, Platonist and Hermetic texts. You had one guy named Ludovico Lazzarelli who found the Hermetic corpus, and he went crazy for this shit. He was like, this is insane. He interacted with the Hermetic corpus as if it was like a lost biblical text. He placed an enormous amount of, like, scholarly and theological importance on it. And he kind of claimed that he was maybe the reincarnation of Hermes Trismegistus, right? But he published a Latin translation of the Hermetic corpus, and it was, like, very controversial. He was definitely seen as a bit of a quack. most normal guy to ever do it. Ludovico Lazzarelli is like worthy of his own stream. I would love to get there eventually. So the version of it that you see in like the Renaissance in fucking Assassin's Creed is probably the Ludovico Lazzarelli version of it. That's neo-Hermeticism. So the guy that we're dealing with here is the theoretical OG Hermes Trismegistus, who was probably not real. Like, there's one scholar who argues, like, all of this shit was written in the Roman period, and there's another scholar who's like, it's actually ancient Egyptian. You can totally make the argument that none of it was ever actually, like, written in Egypt, and it was all just, like, Romans. And for some reason, they're kidnapping Leonardo da Vinci. Well, yeah, I don't think Lazzarelli ever did that. It'd be pretty cool if he did, though. I need ammo. Hello, garden snail. So that brings us, I guess, to what exactly is in the Hermetica, right? Like, what exactly is this shit about? There's about, like, 40 extant texts that exist in fragments and whatnot. And they have opinions about a wide variety of subjects, from, like... Broadly, you can divide it into two big categories. You've got the philosophical Hermetica, which is about, like, the nature of the universe and God and how shit works. It's very evocative of, like, Plato, Aristotle, Plotinus, all that shit. And then you've got the technical Hermetica, which has instructions for doing things. They usually take the form of long lists of herbs or stones, and then instructions as to how to use those to gain various benefits. That's how a lot of scholars talk about it. Let's be honest here, that it's fucking magic. Like, it's like writing special magic words on rocks and using them to, like, gain the favor of a king or something. It's fucking magic, right? We can dispense with the formalities and acknowledge them as magic. We can only do that because I'm a streamer playing Warframe and talking about it in very broad circumstances. Like, technically, it might not have been considered magic by the people there, but, like, the reception history of the Hermetica is that these are magical texts, right? You are doing spells if you are fucking around with the technical Hermetica. But he could cast Fireball level 9. That is true, yes. There's a lino cut of him doing that, of him obliterating a goblin with a fireball. Yes. That is definitely real and definitely happened. Get back here, bitch. Did you die already? Thank you. Okay. So, okay. People have a lot of different opinions as to what exactly the Hermetic corpus was talking about, because, you know, that devotional Hermetica, that philosophical Hermetica, a lot of it is very explicitly religious. A lot of it is very in conversation with Platonism and Gnosticism, right? A lot of it is very, like, you'll read, if you did a little bit of your homework, the first thing in the Copenhagen translation is the Poimandres, right? Which, if you're a little bit familiar with esoterica and the literature of the time, feels very reminiscent of, like, Plato's Timaeus, like, and Gnosticism. You've got a world soul that thinks a demiurge into existence, which then weaves the world, and it's like a creation story, you know? Yeah, there's a book where Hermes literally goes, like, and this is how we pray, to Hermes, like, for Hermes. Like, a lot of it is very explicitly religious. And May, you brought up earlier, like, how related were the two corners of Hermeticism. I have a theory about that, right? We love the demiurge unless we don't. Yes. Like, that is one of the weirdest things about Hermetica, is that you'll read one text and it's like, we hate the demiurge, we should all kill the demiurge. If you cultivate gnosis and noesis, like, you can escape the theological hell prison that the Demiurge has made for us. And then you read another text, and it's like, actually, the Demiurge is chill. He's really nice, and we love him, and the cultivation of Nous is actually a devotional act towards the world soul, and that's how we learn things, is by, like, by pondering the world, we are given access to its secrets because the Demiurge loves us. And so it's like, what the hell? How, like, is the Demiurge good or bad? What the fuck are we talking about here? What are we doing? And so one of the major Hermetic scholars, fucking Festugier, has a theory. He has his curriculum theory that, like, all of what we have of the Hermetic corpus, the body of Hermetic literature, is part of a sort of graded curriculum. That, like, you start out with the texts that are maybe more familiar to popular culture, with the Demiurge being an evil guy and matter being corrupt and the world being a sort of hell prison ruled by archdemons that rule over the universe. And then as you learn more, as you rank up in your Hermeticism skill, you learn, like, actually that's a lie and the Demiurge is chill and we're all, like, if you're in the know, the world is very sweeties and nice. And that's his theory, right? I don't necessarily agree with that, right? I don't, like, personally, I think there's very little evidence for that. I think my theory is that what we consider Hermetic texts are more of a genre of literature. Like, it's not, they weren't, Festugier says that, like, okay, well, if they're not part of a single curriculum, then what are we doing here, right? It's like, then how can we call it all Hermetica, right? Well, I don't think it's part of, like, a religious corpus, per se. It's not like a Bible or a collection of texts that you could call the Torah or something. I think it's more like they're all written with a very similar form and format of, like, a play that you're not really supposed to be performed. They're kind of evoking philosophical dialogues. You've got a standard cast of characters. You've got Hermes Trismegistus, who usually talks to Tat, or Mammon, or Isis, or the enigmatic Agathodaimon, which literally just means good spirit. We have no evidence of a chill Demiurge smoking doobies. How would you tell which is the higher level? Yeah, it's like we know there's more as well. We know there's way more in the Hermetic corpus that didn't survive and is just like I think it's Iamblichus or Cicero who references, like, there's actually 42 books of Hermes, and we don't have that many. The Bible was not a unified canon at this point earlier. Yeah, it's like, but there's a lot of Clement. Thank you. It was Clement that said that. Hermes Trismegistus fanfic. Well, I think at this point, at a certain point, there was a sort of, like, people understood that this was a type of esoteric literature that was popular, and I think Hermeticism. I think, like, the Hermetic corpus existed, but I don't know how much Hermeticism actually existed. Get me? I think at the beginning, Hermeticism started as, like, a continuation of the Thoth cult, in the sense of, like, you know, there used to be a cult of Thoth, and then the Greeks showed up, the Ptolemies conquered Egypt, and that had to stop, right? But those don't just go away. You don't go, aw, shucks, I can't be in the cult of Thoth anymore. Like, you build a fucking underground wisdom religion, right? Dr. Sledge speculated about Petasiris. Yeah, I haven't delved too deeply into that, so I don't want to, like, comment on it and say wrong shit. So, okay. I think at a certain point it became, like, relatively well known that, like, this type of literature was a thing that existed, and I think people were just kind of contributing to it. I think people were like, well, I have some thoughts about the effluence of herbs and stones, and I want to write something on it, and I don't really want to claim that Aristotle wrote it. I want something a little more mystical, and I want it to exist within a broader intellectual corpus, so I'm going to say that Hermes Trismegistus wrote it, right? It is known among... It's known among the wise. Hermetica as a sort of early scholarly journal? That's actually a pretty good way of putting my theory, yeah. Now again, I'm not saying that's the truth, I'm not saying that's literally what the Hermetica was, but that's my theory. That's what I think Hermetica was. My theories. Now, one of the most interesting things about Hermetica is that pro-cosmic version of it, where it's like, you know, the demiurge myth was really popular at this point. You know, you've got, like, the Bible was not codified into a thing yet. Like, Judaism is real fractured, and there's a lot of, like, argument and debate over, like, what exactly this whole Judaism thing is gonna be going forward. And you've got all these Jews all over the Roman Empire saying, like, maybe the God of the Bible is evil, maybe. Because our entire country was, like, razed to the fucking ground. And, you know, some of us were already kind of Roman or kind of Greek and, like, were more integrated into the broader culture of the Mediterranean. Others are like, fuck you, you, like, waged war against our people. But there's a very strong apocalyptic dint to Judaism at the moment. A lot of them are very unhappy with a religion. Hard to continue to believe in a god when all your shit just got fucked up, right? And a lot of them are saying, maybe the current incarnation of the Bible, maybe that God isn't the best thing. Maybe we need to reboot this a little bit. And they're starting to incorporate a lot of ideas from... do kind of like arguing with each other, but this was like... there were like 4 big sects competing to be the real Judaism going forward, and they were like having wars with each other. They took the damn menorah. Yeah, exactly. And so you've got a lot of like Gnostic Judaism, who were also arguing with like early Christians. They're like, does Christ fit into this? Does Christ not fit into this? But there's a lot of literature that's like, maybe God is the bad guy, and we've got to incorporate some new shit. And like, okay. I think Hermeticism is less, like, what you can call Hermeticism is less a textual corpus in and of itself, and it's more like it's constantly in conversation with whatever the contemporary literature it is, right? It's like, whatever's going on, whatever's the popular topics, if you have a take on it, you write as Hermes Trismegistus, or you participate in the Hermetic tradition. Now, if you want, like, if you ask the question, what does Hermeticism look like on the ground? Like, if there were people calling themselves Hermetics, what were they actually doing? And to use a maybe, like, overwrought metaphor, it was less like a traditional Greek cult or anything resembling like a Judeo-Christian congregation. It was kind of like how the Sith work. It was very much like there's a master, and then you have like 3 or 4 teachers. Hi, Crypto. I'm drunk. Hell yeah, brother. They were herming. Like, there are hints that it was a very kind of... it was a little secretive, right? There's a whole treatise about divine silence, right? How do you... like, you give little talks, but then you preserve the higher mysteries just kind of by not talking about them, you know? So it's kind of implied that they had a sort of master-student relationship. You know, there was, like, a master, you had a couple students... and the students didn't necessarily, like, have a book club and talk to each other. It was like you would attend, like, private lectures with this master. Like, you'd go to his house, and you'd all, like, observe some little rites. And, oh, I forget what the... No, it's not like a symposia. It's not a thing that anyone could attend, right? It's very, like... it's way more private than a symposia. This isn't something that anyone can just, like, get invited to. You have to be, like, a special person who gets in. It's a little bit initiatory. There's a concept of the reading mysteries, right? In the sense that, like, kind of like how we talked about with Plotinus, where the only way to truly cultivate Noesis is you got to sit down and read the Enneads. It's like the only way to truly cultivate Hermetic knowledge is to sit down with a Hermetic master and go through the process of performing these plays. You know, you read out a part in the play. Like, the play-like structure of the Hermetica is itself part of the mystery, and performing the play is part of the magic, right? Which I think that's pretty fucking cool. I'll write a work on magic and see how long it takes for readers to notice I'm talking about Magic the Gathering. Yeah. Sesh is an outdated transliteration of the Egyptian word for scribe. I did not know that. That's kind of fun. Like when they refer to, like, set, right? Or is we talking about something else? I can't read chat. I'm playing Warframe. But that's very much how it... That's very much how Hermetica worked on the ground, right? And so, because it wasn't so centralized, if you were writing Hermetica, you could kind of just have takes on whatever was going on at the moment. And I think that's what a lot of the Hermetica ended up being. So one of the most interesting things about the Hermetica is that pro-cosmic element, right? We were just talking about that with, you know, development of Gnosticism comes out of the fact that a lot of Jews weren't super happy with the institutions of Judaism and the Judean temple cult and whatnot. Well, a lot of Hermetic literature is, in my opinion, very much a reaction to that. You've got the first text of the Hermetic corpus, at least in the Copenhagen translation, that I posted in the Discord, by the way, if you want to read along, is like you've got Hermes Trismegistus, and he has a vision. He sees a being that is bigger than anything that he could even conceive as being big. A being so massive that it swallows his perception of scale. And it booms out to him. It says, yeah, it's more than vast. It booms out to him, and it says, I am Poimandres, the intellect of power, or the intellect of dominion, depending on your translation. And we don't actually know what that word means. We don't know what Poimandres means. It's often translated as, like, the shepherd of men, but that etymology is not super clear. We don't really know what that means. Nous tes autentes. Yes. And it basically says, like, I am Nous. Like, that whole world spirit thing that you like, I'm that. What's up, dog? And he says, like, what do you want to know? He asks him, like, what do you want to learn about? And they eventually have a conversation. They talk about the foundation of the world, which the version, what is Nous? It means intellect. Like, the version of God that we consider God, like, within monotheism, right? The sort of omnipotent world mind. That's Nous, right? Although the Greeks meant something a little bit different by the term. I don't want to go into that right now. And so oftentimes the term is simply left untranslated as Nous instead of intellect or whatever. And so the Poimandres, the intellect of power, says, what do you want to learn? And he says, I want to learn how the world was formed. I want to learn a creation myth. And Poimandres says, dope. All right, let's get into it. He says that the One gave rise to Nous, and the Nous made the universe, right? There was primordial chaotic waters, which gave rise to the One and the Nous and whatsoever. The collective unconscious? No. The Nous is like a thinking thing, although the collective unconscious would be within the Nous. Or it would kind of be within... No, never mind. And so, okay. The Nous makes a... He makes a demiurge. He makes a second mind. Like a crafter, a craftsman who makes the world soul and kind of folds it into the world, right? And he gives it over it, he puts 7 governors who are equated to the 7 classical planets, who to watch over this new world, and they're to govern the new world, and their governance is called fate, right? And then down at the bottom, the thing they're all governing is material reality. And they like it. It's fine. Nothing goes wrong. It's not like in Gnosticism where the demiurge is like a fucked up evil god who, in his jealousy, makes an evil descended world. The mortal world is fine. And so the Nous is like, that's awesome. I want to make another thing. I want to make a thing that can go inside the world. So he makes the androgyne, a sort of primordial human that is both male and female at the same time, and is divine in nature, is of the Nous in nature. And then the androgyne says, well, I want to create. I want to go down into the thing you've made, and I want to explore, and I want to make things. And the world soul says, cool, go ahead, do that. That sounds awesome. And so the androgyne descends into the material world. He passes by each of the Dioiketas. Any relation to the Rebus? Maybe. It's very possible. He descends into the world, past the Dioiketas, the governors, who give him a share of their fate, implying that, like, descending into the world means, definitionally, accepting the laws of reality, right? You are now subject to the laws of physics. It's kind of a loss of divinity, or at least a temporary relinquishment of your omnipotence. And he goes into the world, and he sees it, and it's really cool. And then physis, the embodiment of physical reality, like physicality itself, who is female in this text, sees the androgyne and falls in love with it, right? And they embrace, and they have children. And this is really interesting, because in almost every other popular creation myth from the time, there's a sense of a fall. There's a sense of, like, a perfect, incorruptible thing becomes reality, and this results in matter, which is corrupt in some way. And this is very much not how it's framed in the Poimandres. Like, Physis and the androgyne fall in love, and she's not a Satan figure. She's not a malicious temptress. It's not framed as a fall, right? It's framed as a good and beautiful and wonderful thing. And they have 7 children who are the ancestors of man, who are also androgyne. They are also male and female at the same time. And this is why humanity has this dual nature, both physical and divine. That's why we have a material body and a divine soul. It's because we are the result of God loving his creation. Or two of the creations of Nous loving each other and producing something new and also divine, which I like that a lot. And the Nous sees these primordial humans, and he's overjoyed. He thinks they're wonderful and beautiful, and comes to the conclusion that he never could have come up with this himself. He needed to create other things that were also capable of generation. And so he divides them. He divides the 7 into 14, sexing them, creating men and women, and gives them the ability to procreate. And he tells them, go and love each other and spread across the earth and unravel the mysteries of your mother and father. And that's what humanity comes from. And one of the interesting things about all of this, okay, one quick thing, the governors of fate, right, the Dioiketas, the specific term that is used for those, like, normally, that's clearly a play on the Gnostic archons, the archdemons who encircle the earth and encircle reality and are in charge of torturing humanity, right? These arch-demonic torturers in charge of causing suffering. Well, the Dioiketas, that specific word, it literally means housekeeper, but a dioiketos is a sort of colonial governor in the Greco-Roman Empire. It refers to, like, the treasurer who manages the finances of a colony. Which I think is very interesting. It's much more bureaucratic. It's not evil demon torturers. It's like bureaucrats and finance ministers. Should we cancel them? I don't know. It further research is required. So what was I fucking talking about? So we've got this divine androgyne, right? This unfallen world. And at a certain point, like, Trismegistus, who is being... all of this is being told to him by the world soul. He asks the question, it's like, what did man do? Like, what great error did man do to deserve death? Like, it's like, people die. Like, what happens? Like, why do people die? It seems like we didn't do anything, so why do people have to be temporary and die? And the world soul says that men are slaves to their appetites, and the cause of all death is eros. Basically implying that, like, the price of being, like, if you can't experience death, you can't experience love. Right? That's the choice that the androgyne made, is that he wanted to be able to love the world, and so he accepted death, accepted mortality. I think that's very cool. I think that's a really neat way to build your cosmology. That comes up in existential philosophy. Death is what gives life meaning. Yeah. And that's how morality works within the Poimandres. It's like all suffering is caused by too much of a good thing, right? It is interesting, isn't it? Like, everything that causes you pain is caused by too much of a good thing. All things can exist in balance. There's nothing is inherently evil or corrupt, right? And nothing is inherently good or pure. Did the separation of male and female cause death? No. It was I believe, if I recall correctly, it was the act of the androgyne falling in love with Physis that caused death, that added death to the world. They said that they said there was something about death being part, like, it emerged from the chaotic waters that the world was made of. Balance do be the key. Honestly, real as fuck. Oh, man. Once we stop this round, we gotta take a little break. But nah, I really like that creation myth. And what's interesting is that as you start reading the Hermetica, they almost immediately, like, go back on that. Like, one of the very next texts is, like, significantly more Gnostic, and it's like, fuck the demiurge, fuck everything that made the world, it's all torture. Loved a material world too much, and, well, that did something else. Yup, it made a new thing. There's a little bit of Elden Ring, or a little bit of that in Elden Ring, you know? Where it was like gods fucking around and falling in love with each other, like, adds new rules, or, like, lines of code to reality. Like, it adds new shapes to the Elden Ring. I think that's kind of neat. Elden Ring extremely hermetic. Yes, Elden Ring is very much based on Marcio Ficino and Pico della Mirandola, who both of them, Ficino actually translated the Hermetica, and Pico was obsessed with the Hermetica and was trying to apply it to Christianity. So Elden Ring is, like, very neo-hermetic, extremely neo-hermetic. Doesn't need new shapes, it already has a ring. It's got a lot of rings. There's a lot of rings in the Elden Rings. Okay, let's stop here. Alright, gang. We're gonna take a little break. Get up, stretch, Get yourself some water, grab a snack. We will be right back. Hello. Did you guys have a nice break? Got here about 20 minutes ago. I'm loving this discussion, even when I have like zero anthropology knowledge. Yay! That's fun. Welcome to the chat. We do this every Friday. Hey, if you want to join the Discord, you can use the command !Discord. Get little updates. Hang out with other people. Join the book club. Have a whale of a time. Can we see Amir, please? Yeah. Let's go see Amir. No, not navigation. Thank you. Scrolled past some posts on Tumblr without really reading them, and I'm ready for more learning. Yay! Yay, 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 yay! Can you explain what in Elden Ring is hermetic? I don't know anything about Elden Ring. Well then, if I explain it, it's not going to make much sense to you, isn't it? Kind of all of it, yeah. Have you played Elden Ring? My context, you probably said, let's see Ymir, but it sounds like you're saying, let's see a mirror. No, it's Amir. Is this a sign to play Elden Ring? I mean, it's a good game. Hi, Amir.
Ooh, how about this one? It bifurcates people laterally.
Oh, I need this.
Nuts. Later.
I've played Elden Ring, but know nothing about Hermeticism. Bye, Amir. I actually need to max out my fucking... I haven't actually gotten the full thing yet. Is this a sign to play Warframe? I mean, Warframe's fun. You don't have axe? You can shoot forever with it with an arcane? Oh, cool. No, I haven't finished the fucking 1999 stuff. I know some things about Elden Ring and some things about Hermeticism. I'm sure we'll get there. Like, the thing with occult history is that it's like the ancient world up to Byzantium, and then it's kind of like the Renaissance. So I'd like to do a couple streams talking about like Arabic alchemy and all that stuff. I love myself the Jabirian corpus. We love Al-Razi. Love Islamicate or is not fucking hell. Jesus Christ. I love Islamicate Neoplatonism. Why was that so difficult? God damn. Exchange treasures.
Let's see.
Oh, I'm probably saving these for a level up. Okay, we'll do that another time. I need credits right now. Because I have a shitload of endo, but I have a lot of like mods on my weapons that are one notch away from being max rank. It's almost there. It's almost there. Yes. Yes. It's like 500,000. Then it's like 8 mil. Or wait. Okay, that's less than I thought. Hi, Kid Deadbeat. Welcome to the stream. We're talking about Hermeticism. I need one more Umbra. I need one more Umbra mod. Let's see. Let me go over my notes real quick. There's a bit in my notes that says, Festugier says, no, it has no congregation. It's not a religion. Is Hermeticism a religion? Festugier says, no, because it has no congregation, but he's a Christian and has very Christian ideas about what defines religion. Honestly, who cares? Actually, no, I care. I don't think we know enough about Hermetica to say one way or the other. Can you share your Lavos and Cedo builds for the reference in the actual Discord? Yup, I can. You practice any of this stuff? Or is it just interesting to learn about. It's pretty interesting to learn about. I practice some of it in some ways, but that's like I prefer to keep that stuff private. Yeah, I got a bagel recipe from like a weird dream I had. With that point, what even separates a cult from a religion? Well, to answer that question, we need to define a religion. And good luck. Let's go see what Barrow has. There's also the bit in the Asclepius where it's like that's the bit of the Hermetica. Okay. If you gotta read any two tracts from the Hermetica, you gotta read fucking you gotta read Poimandres and Asclepius, because Asclepius has that's the bit with the god building. It has instructions for like making a statue and then putting a god in it. And let me tell you, St. Augustine really did not like that one. He was very angry about that one, because in his opinion, he's like, that means that all pagan temples are literally full of demons. Which, like, if you're a Christian, yeah, that's what that means. Does it work? We should try. Religion is when opioid crisis or whatever that German guy said. What's the difference between the higher and lower gods? In what context? What do you mean? Lowercase god or uppercase god? Prime deadly efficiency. Any weapons? Nope, got all these. We're good.
Until next time.
Real as fuck. It's heartening to see that Christians were pretty much always flipping out over hypothetical demons. Well, that was like their main thing. You gotta remember that, like, all this esoterica magic shit was like one of the major theological rivals to Christianity when it was being formed. So they had to spend a lot of time like getting into arguments with them and making their case and like defining themselves by what they are not, you know? Cult does have a specific definition, but only in the contemporary world is another term for a high control group. Isn't really practical. Yeah, it's like it definitely means something different when you're using it for like a religious or spiritual group in the ancient Greek world. It's all Christianity. It's literally they do that this very second. Yeah, they were doing more of it back then, buddy. Okay, where are we going? Back to the index. Like if you think the Christians are argumentative now, you ought to read the Church Fathers. Especially Augustine. Although he's kind of fun to read. Of all the Church Fathers, he's like enjoyable. He has a bit of a sense of humor. Is there any world where pagan traditions would have overtaken Christianity's popularity? Like we've been living in a pagan world today? Basically, no. Like, the reason that Christianity stuck around was because when the Roman Empire effectively collapsed, the network of churches in the Roman Empire all had... they had a massive Roman Empire-sized network of people who could read and take care of legal documents. And that effectively made them, like, the most politically powerful organization in the Roman Empire. And, like, the Platonists weren't doing that shit, right? The Egyptian cult of Isis was not doing that shit. Like, like maybe if like the Jewish revolt had settled way earlier and like concretized and like became more of a thing, maybe they could have had it, but I don't know. It's very difficult to tell. There also weren't very many of them compared to like the Roman state pagans. That's hard to say. Is Augustine the one who got a boner in a public bath and his dad laughed about it and he got so ashamed that he became a Christian? Or is the one that stole the pears and got so ashamed he became a Christian? I don't remember. I know that he used to be a pagan, right? That was his whole claim to fame, is that he was like a pagan who converted to Christianity and became like a diehard Christianity guy. Could Saul Invictus have overtaken Christianity? Yeah, definitely. Like, the cult of, like, the imperial cult of Rome was, like, definitely in a good place, but they just didn't have the institutional strength to beat out Christianity once the empire fell. You have to be ashamed to be a Christian? Hi, Bun. Good first-time chat. No, but it helps. It's like you don't have to be gay to be a top-tier Tumblr poster, but you should. We talking about the same guy this place in Florida was named after? I was talking to a friend from Florida the other day, and we looked it up, and apparently it's named after, like, there was something about it possibly being named after a different guy named Augustine. Although it's probably just, if it's, wait, is it called Saint Augustine? In which case, like, there's only one Saint Augustine. Shame. Shame also helps if you're Jewish, though. Like, you can be, it's just different flavors. It's subtle but important differences. Yes, St. Augustine the place, yeah, I think it's named after that guy. Jamie. It's actually a little bit shameful. But, being gay gives you a buff in the Tumblr arena? Yup. So, why are we fucking talking about Hermeticism, right? If it's this, like, weird cult and barely nothing of it survives, then, like, why are we fucking talking about it? Why is it called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn? Well, because mythologically, you've got a cult whose central figure is the guy who is supposedly behind all of Western philosophy and religion, both Greek, Egyptian, and Jewish. That's like the first wizard, you know? So obviously, if you're gonna make a Western esoteric tradition, you gotta call it Hermetic, right? Especially if there's already a textual tradition of making up shit and saying that Hermes Trismegistus wrote it. Like, that's the perfect thing to have if you're trying to start a Western esoteric tradition. Like, he's right there. You don't even have to make up a guy. There's already a guy that came pre-made up. A lot of the practical stuff, like lists of magic plants and rocks, was in wider circulation. Yes. But the Hermetica gave a sense that there was, like, an intellectual tradition behind it. Like, you're not just bapping together rocks. You're bapping together rocks to the logic of an established intellectual tradition. And that's important for ancient Greece, right? That's important for the Greco-Roman world. Guy who came pre-made up. Yup. So to the point where, like, real scholars, like church fathers, like early Islamicate scholars, for the next, like, 1,000 years would regularly cite Hermes Trismegistus, but they would never cite him in the same way. Like, Iamblichus cites him as, like, oh yeah, the great philosopher, Hermes Trismegistus, and then, like, Ibn Fadlan over in the Muslim world is like, oh yeah, Hermes Trismegistus, the great astrologer. Like, they all saw different things in him and considered him an expert on different things, which made him, again, extremely useful as a mythological figure. Because everyone already kind of agrees that this guy is an expert on a lot of things, whether or not he's real. We know that he wrote a lot of things. You know, we had the whole... Clement has the whole, like, yeah, we know the 42 books of Hermes. We all know them. We all read them. We have no idea what they are. They've been lost to history. But it's clear that he was, like, respected among the broader Greco-Roman milieu. So, when fucking Victorian occultists in the 1850s were coming up with their fun magic club, they were like, well, what are we going to name this thing? It's the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I heard Hermes Trismegistus had an 8-pack. I heard Hermes Trismegistus was shredded. Exactly. So, well, that's another thing. Would you say that esotericism has been replaced in modern scholarship by science? No, not really. People are still doing esotericism. It's just like the relationship that the Western world has to religion in general is just like way more different now. And so, if you read like modern esotericism, shit like fucking like the Azoetia or the Viridarium Umbris or shit, it's less like this is a concrete truth about the world and more like this is art and philosophy and an experiential play and an art project all rolled into one thing. It's like it's like people doing philosophy as art in a really interesting, evocative, and like philosophically deep way. Which, in my opinion, is like way cooler than the other shit. Come, join the Discord. Esotericism and science are divergent evolution like mice and mustelids. I mean, I've always kind of saw esotericism as like a chaff that philosophy and science give off. Like, as long as there is science, there will be pseudoscience. As long as there are, like, people trying to come up with new ideas, there will be weird and esoteric ones. And then those things will be incorporated into a broader, like, esoteric corpus and occultic milieu. Just like how every fucking New Ager these days can't shut up about, like, the quantum soul or whatever. Like, no, science definitely says that, like, the world is made of an ephemeral consciousness goo. It's like, you've never read a manifest, man. You don't, listen, I don't know anything about quantum mechanics, but you definitely don't know anything about quantum mechanics. Like, science generates, like, esotericism, the occult, as chaff. It's like sparks coming off an anvil. Yup, that's... For the big scholar heads in chat, that's known as Hanegraaff's rejected model of Western esotericism. He categorizes Western esotericism as a body of rejected literature. Reminds me, I think, of how H-Bomber Guy said flat earthers are trying to do with science. I actually disagree with that take. I think that's one of his worst takes. Fucking... When Dan... Like... Not Dan Henschel... Dan Folding Ideas had that video In Search of a Flat Earth where he talked about, like, the ideas behind flat earthers, where it's like they're not trying to do science. They're trying to do like apocryphal biblical mythology that resembles science. Like, they're not actually trying to do science. They are performing science. They don't care. They're not trying to reach truth. They're trying to defend themselves. Yeah, they're doing the opposite of science, you know? Like, I agree that there is a degree of intellectual humility that you should have going into shit like conspiracism and flat earth. Like, you should try to meet these people halfway and understand how they see themselves and, like, be a little bit charitable intellectually to them. But at the same time, like, the things they are trying to do, if you give them that charity, you very rapidly understand that, like, oh, no. They're trying to prove that, like, Jews run the government, you know? That type of shit. Yeah. Doing a science that looks like a science. Yeah, kinda. Very much. Zetetic astronomy. I fucking love zetetic astronomy. I love vortex math as well. I love whenever conspiracy theorists get so in the weeds that they have to invent their own mathematics to prove it. That shit rules. Zetetic astronomy is a version of astronomy invented, I believe, in the 1800s by one of the OG flat earthers. Like, it was basically a bunch of astronomers were telling him, like, hey, your math doesn't fucking work. Like, you say that, like, for the Earth to be flat, all of these other things about astronomical math that are, like, observably, patently true would have to be false. And he says that his response was, admirably enough, well, then the math must be false. I'm gonna reinvent math from the bottom up. And he came up with zetetic astronomy. There's another more modern branch of, like, conspiracism that feels that way about specific ideas from Newtonian physics, like the scalar wave theory and vortex mathematics, who believes that, like, actually the four elements, especially aether, are real, and that's how the world works, and that you need to rebuild all of physics from the ground up in accordance with this new type of mathematics that doesn't work. Isn't there, like, a contemporary rapper who has his own math system? That's possible. I don't know. You gotta love a man who commits. That's the part of conspiracy culture that, like, I genuinely have a little bit of love for. It's the people who are like, no. It's like, I have so much free time, like, I'm so divorced that I'm gonna invent a new type of mathematics. The scalar wave people are incredibly funny when you know anything about normal math. Terrence Howard, yes, that's the guy. Wasn't he the guy who went on Joe Rogan and was like 1 + 1 can't equal 2 because light and darkness can't go together or some shit? Like, he had some weird mythological justification for it that was very funny. Yeah, I believe he got fucking the pop astronomy guy. What is his name? The guy who's, like, annoying on Twitter. he like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah. He like sent his theories to Neil deGrasse Tyson and was like I have theories. Can you go over my theories? And Neil was like, you know what? Sure. Like, I believe in science. I believe in people being engaged with science, so I'll take this seriously. Like, I'll respond to this as if I would any other piece of astrological math. And it's like, hey man, what 1 × 1 does not equal 2. That's just wrong. Like, was very respectful about it in a way that I admire. No, he was nice about it. He's not the worst possible guy to send that to. He was like, he was very kind about it. Like, took him seriously, didn't belittle him, you know? Like, very much like, hey, I believe in people engaging with science, but this shit's wacky, dude. That's not how that works. He's got allegations? I don't know, man. I don't know. I believe in, like... I do have a belief in, like... A lot of people believe strange things, and it's important to, like, not belittle people for ignorance that they are trying to shed themselves of. You know, that's one of the core things about my blog that I truly believe in. It's like, people... You should never make fun of someone for wanting to know more. You should never make fun of someone for, like, opening themselves up to being like, I think this about the world, can you tell me if this is correct or not? Like, you need to encourage that. You need to encourage thought. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of people who, like, grow up in weirdo Christian cults or whatever, or, like, grow up being told very weird, strange things about the world and how it works. And because it's maybe abusive or something, they don't necessarily want to carry that into their adult life, and so they get interested in the occult. They get interested in, like, tarot and astrology and all that shit. And, like, that wouldn't happen if tarot and astrology wasn't already kind of cool, you know? It's not a bad thing to be interested in. It's a bad thing to believe in it like you believe in a religion, you know? But I really want to encourage those people, specifically, to, like, understand, like, there's real science behind that. There's real history, real academic work that can go into studying these things, and it's cool as hell, right? I think if you can pivot that desire to, like, understand more about, like, the strange and rejected corners of religious history, like, it can get a lot of people out of, like... It's all pipelines, you know? The fucking astrology communities are, like, fine in and of themselves, but they're always a pipeline to believing, like, weird anti-Semitic shit, you know? It's like, you shouldn't believe in astrology, but most people just kind of think it's fun, you know? They just kind of think it's a fun thing to think about. I don't have an issue with astrology as a concept. I have an issue with believing in astrology, and the fact that astrology communities are a pipeline to other scary shit. So there should be more pipelines from, like, astrology and tarot and crystal communities to, like, becoming amateur historians. The type of shit that the people who follow me are. It's like, I'm interested in the actual history of this and, like, the place that it fits into the real world. I think there's a lot of... desire for that. Yeah, invest in a telescope. Go look at the stars. It's fucking cool. And part of that is, like, fucking... You just gotta fucking be patient with people, right? It's like... Something that pisses me off is, like, Twitter leftists will say shit like, the world is constantly trying to make you racist. You know, everything about the world is, like, encouraging you to, like, yes, be a racist. All the institutions are like, you benefit from this. So you should think that it's real and a good thing and that you are better than these other people. And then they get really mad when people say kind of racist shit. It's like, oh, listen, if they're trying to be better, like... You gotta have a little grace. It's the same thing with, like... Dude, a lot of people were literally raised in a cult. I'm not gonna, like, get mad at them for having some maybe wacky beliefs about the world, and then also, at the same time, being like, I don't want to believe this anymore, but I don't know what's true, and I don't know how to, like, determine what else is true. You gotta be kind. You have to be a little patient with people, especially if they... If a person says, like, I want to know more, you can't be mean to them for that. Or at least I believe you shouldn't, right? I can't speak for everyone there. Getting really into tarot autism sent me down a big hole of reading a bunch of stuff about the history of tarot, but the history of playing cards in general. Yeah, that's one of the first things that I, like, found interesting about Western esotericism, was the history of cartomancy. The pipelines thing is so real, though. The amount of terrible pipelines that come out of the New Age community is kind of astonishing. Yeah. That's part of it. It's like, people are so... Like... Dude, if you have an MLM, you are constantly advertising in, like, online tarot communities and shit. Like, it's a self-selecting, right? It's like people who are kind of lost, don't really know what they're doing. I don't blame the people directly affected by bigotry for not wanting to deal with it, but everyone else should be reaching out and helping. Yeah, to be fair, there's only, like, so much you can do. You know? It's like, you gotta... I personally feel it's like, if I'm not gonna at least, like, try to be kind to this person, it's like... I don't need to take responsibility for this, you know? And sometimes people are just gonna say fucking dumb things and I don't want to deal with it, you know? That's fine. Everyone does that. Feel this nearly failing completely into those pipelines many years ago. Yeah, I think that's a lot of people that, like, got interested in the occult, had, like... You know, you had, like, a really bad 6 months a couple years ago, and you kind of felt yourself being like, what if I am a wizard? What if it's real? I think more people have that experience than is comfortable. I've had a lot of people like kind of quietly approach me and be like, this happened to me and it's kind of embarrassing and I'm really glad that I didn't go down that road. It's hard. It's just hard. It's hard to learn things. It happens. Yeah. I don't know. It's why I'm doing shit like this. I want to encourage people to learn more about the history of these ideas and, like, take a genuine interest in the scholarship. I think that's important. It also is fucking cool. Like, you get to learn about wizards and shit. Wizards are cool.
Holding lots of points is dangerous and thrilling.
Where is everyone? Did they leave? I don't know. Okay. Wizards are cool seemed like a good line to finally hit the follow button on. Hell yeah, brother! Welcome to the stream. And hey, if you want to join the Discord, you can hit !Discord to get little notifications about whenever we're. I do this every Friday. You can join the Discord. We have a book club. Wizards might be the historically coolest subset of nerds, which isn't saying much, but you know. Yeah. I have this talk with Riley sometimes about how I think, like, most historical wizards just had autism. Like, John Dee definitely had autism. You don't have that granular an interest in something without a little bit of autism. Like, it might not be the main ingredient, but that shit's in there. Same thing, I believe anecdotally, like, this is not like a serious thing, but I anecdotally believe the exact same thing about Moshe de Cordovero. Like, you don't invent Kabbalah without a little bit of autism. I think there's a lot of people that have, like, philosophy or theology autism, and those are, without a doubt, always some of the most interesting people in history. Autism and no obligations, or autism in a monastery, you know? That's where you get the good shit. Been to the Eureka Springs UFO conference. Some folks who go there are just trying to come to terms with weird experiences they've had. It's chilling when you see them talk to someone you think is looking for followers. Yup. Every once in a while, like, this doesn't happen too much on Tumblr anymore, but every once in a while you come across a guy who's, like, not just, like, interested in the occult, but is like, I want people to see me as an archmage, and I want people to follow me and consider my opinions powerful and meaningful, and that shit's a little iffy. I don't know if you can be doing that. I was recently reading some posts by a guy talking about how getting into the Zohar blew his mind because it jived so unbelievably well with his autistic brain, so I believe it. Yeah, I fucking see it. That shit's part of why I was so hesitant to start a Discord, is because, like, literally in the last 2 Discords I had like 4 people try to start fucking cults in my Discords. Like, nope, I am not dealing with that shit. Jesus. You guys don't understand. Poorly moderated occult discords are some of the most toxic places on the internet. Like, you think you've been into some bad fucking discords. Like, publicly accessible... Oh, it's a nice dojo. Publicly accessible witchcraft discords are full of nothing but, like, people trying to start discord cults. Like, sexual discord cults. It's not great. Well, okay, what's even worse is that the type of people who like to be Discord admins are also the type of people that want to start Discord cults, especially like there's nothing if you're interested in the occult, you love to get into arguments with people. Like, there's nothing you hate more than a fellow occultist who knows more about shit than you do. And so, being the moderator of a poorly moderated Discord cult is like, you almost immediately go mad with wizard arrogance. Yeah, and I had to deal with being parasocially thrown in there too. Like furry Discords, but somehow more ego. Like furry Discords, but people are like, I literally talk to God. What is Ruby Madness Chimera? Yeah, in my last couple Discords, a guy found an enchanted ruby and everyone was backstabbing and conniving each other to get the Ruby Madness. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break, get some water, get a stretch. Yes, the background music is from Blasphemous. This is Palacio de los Telios. I do. I love some Al-Andalus. Is Blasphemous good or does it just look sick? The second game is way better than the first one. It's clearly like, the first one is clearly like, this is their first game. If Blasphemous played like Hollow Knight, I think it would be one of the best Metroidvanias ever. I wish it was faster. I was in a friend's server that very quickly devolved into a communist transfem warrior priestess polycule cult. Get shunned for mentioning that you have other friends to game with instead of hanging out every evening. Yup. Also, hi Wolfgang. Many such cases, unfortunately. Oh. Still have a little bit of my bagel from breakfast. Wolf, you have so many stories of, like, getting involved with shit like that. So how do you stay sane and grounded with the following you have in the area of interest you have? I have, like... It's like I try not to say shit that I can't point to a source for. You know? I'm interested in, like, the historical realities of something. I'm interested in what authors were thinking when they were creating things. I'm interested in what they were trying to do, you know? I try to have as material an interaction with the occult as I can. But also, that doesn't work for my audience. If you've followed me for a long time, you know that my blog attracts some real fucking weirdos. Like, I don't know, there's a couple people on Tumblr that are, like, genuinely unwell and, like, parasocially obsessed with me. So whenever people are like, it's like, oh man, cryptotheism is so cringe, and I'm like, I don't fucking care, right? I've had people try to stalk me. I've had, like, I don't want to talk too much about it, because I don't want to, like, encourage people to, like, go through and, like, let's go find CT's stalkers or whatever, but there's, like, some real fucking nutcases that, like, have fixated on me. Unwell people on Tumblr? Crazy. This is, like, a different level. Like, there's, like, a couple Spanish Catholic neo-Nazis on Tumblr that are, like, obsessed with me. Like, I've had them try to dox me before. Like, that level of shit, yeah. I'm getting fucking... the fucking conquistadors tried to fucking dox me. I don't even really know what their beef is with me. Like, yeah, they're phalangists. The ghost of El Cid. No, I also get a lot of people being like... Just because I'm a very patient person who tries to respond to things in good faith. I think that's part of why I attract so many people that are just, like, trying to fuck with me, is that I have a fairly principled belief in, like, okay, I try to answer even the stupidest questions in good faith, just to be like, well, no, that's not true. Let's talk about it. Here's what the people say about that. Here's what experts say about that. Let's try to track down this logic, or chain of logic, right? And so I get a lot of people that are like... I get a lot of people who want me to be Hermes Trismegistus, you know? I get a lot of people that are like, can I be your acolyte? It's like, no, man, I run a blog. Like, you can give me money on my Patreon. You're welcome to do that, but I'm not interested in starting, like, an esoteric order or anything like that. It's interesting. There's a lot of real kind of wackadoo people in the occult space, and I have, like, as much animosity as I have for the bad parts of it, I have a lot of love for the good parts of it. I think it's very easy to sneer at people, you know? That's an impulse in the same way that it's really easy to become, like, wizard arrogant of, like, I know more about the secret knowledges than you do. I've read the Enneads and you haven't. Yeah. It's very easy to do that, but it's also easy to be like, this person is stupid and dumb because I believe in astrology. It's like, that may be true, but does that mean you're a better person than they are? Like, does that mean that you can be mean to them? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes people say really stupid shit, and they use astrology to justify it, and it's fine to be mean to those people, but you have to You can't let that impulse take over how you interact with the world, you know? You gotta engage with people as people. I feel like it's gotta be easier to avoid culty situations if you have a daily routine where you go out to the real world. Yeah, that's true. I go out to write at cafes, I talk to real people, I'm friends with a lot of normies who I keep in regular contact with. I'd say if I have any problem, it's that I'm a workaholic. Like, if given the time and resources, I would literally just, like, lock myself in a cabin in the mountains and I wouldn't come out for a month. And that would be bad for me. It wouldn't be good. Are you better than them or a little hater? Exactly. See, you're getting it. Like, being a hater has to be a principled stance, you know? Everyone listen to Val. Val has secret esoteric wisdom that I don't, okay? Val's actually Hermes Trismegistus. No, you can't be a hater willy-nilly. It has to be a principled stance. You can't hate unjustly. There are actual cursed manuscripts and tomes, but the curse isn't magical, it's that they make you think you're God. Yeah, a little bit. Especially if you think you're the only person who's read it. I think that's the funniest part of dealing with other people in the occult, is they'll read a book that was like translated in 1545, and they're like, well, I've actually read, like, I don't know, some shit that Marcio Ficino wrote. As if they're, like, the only person who's ever read it. That shit's funny. Yeah, you gotta stay intellectually humble. You can't ever think that you're smarter than someone else. You can have read more than someone else, and you can structure better arguments based on what you've read, but you're not smarter than someone else, right? You can't just be like, you're dumb, I'm smart, I don't have to make an argument. No, sit down and make the argument, bitch. Oh, you're smarter than them? Prove it, right? Structure an argument, write an essay, become a YouTuber. Quit your job, move to LA. Live in a streamer flophouse. Start making video essays and complaining on Twitter about other people who aren't watching your video essays. Get into fights with people in the comments of New York Times articles. Even though neither one of you have actually read the article. Become unsufferable. Fry off your fingerprints. Yes! Yes! It's working! I can feel it working! I get the impulse to do that shit sometimes. There's a little demon in your head that says you should become a video essayist YouTuber. And as someone who knows a couple video essayist YouTubers, no, you shouldn't. You should never do that. It's bad for you, and it's bad for everyone involved. Poimantres, the noose of all mastery, says the bread tube is a scourge. BreadTube is literally fine. Eureka! My machine that turns normal people into content creators is finally complete! They needed a stealth soldier, so I put my hands on the hibachi hot plate at Benihana and burned my fucking fingertips off. This shit ain't nothing to me, man. Yeah, I don't know if you guys knew this, but the most occult thing you can do is use a frying pan to remove your fingertips. That's how you put yourself in contact with the greater noose. Ooh, fuck off. Thank you. Okay. What is hurting me? Why am I being hurt? Drink all the shampoo in the house to discuss the demiurge. Muttering into my notebook. Burn off your fingertips to become cool as fuck. As someone who just started playing Warframe, as in the last thing I did was beat Captain Vor, it's very funny to see endgame footage of it. This is mid-game footage of it. This, like, I've completed the star chart. I've only beaten, like, a little bit of the steel path. I am not good at this game. I have a lot of prime frames, and I'm still grinding, but I don't have a build that can beat the steel path. That's kind of what I'm trying to do right now. Yeah, this is the normal, the index. No, the steel path raises every enemy level by 100. I'm glad I abandoned Warframe in Destiny 2. Warframe is significantly better than Destiny 2. It actually respects your time. Lavos seems cool. Lavos is meta. That's part of why he's cool. I only recently started doing the Steel Path nodes. Fuck Steel Path Ropoilist, by the way, that shit said. The bosses in Steel Path are crazy, dog! I need Holly to start playing RuneScape, or not, Holly is playing RuneScape. I need Holly to start playing Warframe again so that she can escort me through the Steel Path. I wish I could move like this IRL. This is a schmovement game. Warframe is absolutely a schmovement game. If you enjoy first-person shooters that have schmovement, or third-person shooters with schmovement, you should play Warframe. There's an entire frame that has significantly lower ground friction than all the other ones, so that you can do even schmovier schmovement. Yeah, Nez is an oiled-up twink. Yup. On roller skates. Playing too much Warframe and having trying to crouch, slide, and bullet jump in every other game. Yup. The Corpus are interesting as a capitalism cult. I like how they're constantly fighting with each other. And a lot of the Corpus missions are implied that, like, another Corpus director, like, hired you to fuck up another Corpus director. That's fun.
Investors smiling on that capitalization.
Cruelty Squad. I'm so excited for the new, like, game by those people. That shit looks so cool. Never forget the time Parvos Grindum told Nefanyo he was a fucking disappointment. Yup. He's like, you are cringe. And your time prison is gay. Grenier on top. Let's go, Tube Men. I got an email from fucking the Screaming One earlier today. That seemed neat. Seemed like there was a little quest to go on. He gave me like a special Detron or something. I don't know. Jade. Jade is cool. Her power is being pregnant. Look, brothers! Tits! Look, brothers! Tits! The Grenier are cool. I like how they clearly started as, like, these are space orcs. We don't know what this game is yet, but they're space orcs. And now they're actually, like, one of the most interesting and well-developed factions in this game. That have a ton of character and lore. I am a sucker for a former slave race. That's one of my favorite, like, concepts in sci-fi, is, like, a genetically modified artificial slave race that is no longer a slave race. That's such an interesting concept to me. I want to play with that so bad. I got an email from the screaming one is what Moses said, I think. Yeah, that's the first words of the Bible, actually. That's Genesis 1:1. Oh my god. Oh yeah, everyone here, if you weren't around for the Meat Planet official Star Wars stream last year, well, it's happening tomorrow. You should really tune in. 1 p.m. Pacific. If you've got time, I highly, highly recommend you tune into this one. We've been putting some sauce into this one, my friends. It's time for Panaka Blast too. I was chatting with Sanity earlier today. He says he has 8 hours of content planned. I don't know about you guys, but I'm very excited. I truly think the last Star Wars stream was one of the funniest things that Meat Planet has ever done. So I'm excited to do more of it. What is Meat Planet? Meat Planet is the little informal streaming group that I have with my friends. It's me, James7T, Cotton Candy Lesbo, and Sanity Plays Games. It's basically a digital theater troupe, if you think about it. The Star Wars stream VODs are how I started watching Meat Planet. They are truly one of the funniest things we've ever done together. Same gang as on Quizardry? Yup. Meat Planet Gaming. 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 Oh, I should turn in my points. You really want to join, but the time zones? Yeah. It'll go on for a while. If you can make it, you can make it. And there will be a VOD. All of my favorite meat clowns from Meat Planet discussing meat cinema. Yup. Is there a charity as well this time? I don't know. But you should come. It'll be fun. Let me see if I have enough. No, I cannot recommend that you tune in enough tomorrow. I'll put an announcement about it in the Discord. Once Endo... I will probably not be sticking around for the whole stream. Like, we have it blocked out into, like, hour-long chunks. So will half the Philosophy Fridays be Warframe and half of them be Elden Ring? I don't know, man. I think most of them are gonna be Warframe. I'm planning other shit. I don't know. It's just kind of whatever. Just like, as long as I talk about the occult for a couple hours, that's all I really want. I do want to stream at least one other day a week. And what form that will take will be determined in the future by trial and error. The Kick-Assia watch-along was very fun, yeah. Yeah, if you guys can find the VOD of the old Star Wars stream, please, like, put it in the Discord. Which you can join with command exclamation point Discord, by the way. Yes, nailed it. Fuck yes. It's on Sanity's channel, yeah. Whose channel are the Star Wars VODs on? Probably Sanity's. I don't know if they're saved, though. They're somewhere. Yeah, they're on Sanity's YouTube, I believe. Diord! Exclamation point Diord! Highly, highly, highly recommend. The last one was hilarious. Also, Fucking, if any of you can find the clip for Panaka Blast, also post that. I should start a fucking clips channel in the Discord. Didord. Join my Didord. Please! Please join my Didord! That's so much endo. Yeah, Panaka Blast is truly one of my favorite clips. I have never seen Candy lose his shit like that before. But also, an important piece of context for Panaka Blast is that that clip was after like 8 hours. Like, there's also a clip of that of... It's like, Sanity asked me a question of like, what does bug mean in the Star Wars universe? And I was like, it means fucking insects. And then Sanity's like, no, that's wrong. And I get like genuinely mad at Sanity. I'm like, what the fuck ever? Who cares? I don't give a shit. You're just making this shit up. And Sanity just keeps going with his wonderful jolly affectation, going like, it's actually a slur for the Toydarians. I'm like, whatever. Shut up. I hate this. I hate you. Wikipedia's slang page is amazing. Okay, Mist Heart did post the clip in the Discord. Perfect. Ugh, I'm probably going to be wrapping up here sometime soon. I need to go eat lunch. Hey, who's live right now? We should raid into someone. Can't believe Legends had an evil Luke clone named Luke. Yup. That shit's awesome. Please give us some philosophical wisdom first. It's not entirely clear if the Hermetic Corpus represents a curriculum for an existing group, or if it was a nom de plume that many people were writing under. There you go. Put that in your bank and smoke it. There is a way to mass select mogs. Select in the right-hand corner. Quick select. Whoa! Whoa! Like this? I didn't know this existed. This changes the game. Keep extra unranked copies. Let's keep 2, just in case. This is a pretty recent quality of life feature. It was dearly needed. So the Hermetic Corpus was a corpus even to the writers? That's my theory. There's a lot, like, we don't know for sure. Always somehow assumed it was an assortment of old-timey wizard texts that we assembled into a corpus later. No, they definitely did exist within some sort of intellectual tradition, but we don't know what the nature or shape of that tradition was. We can make some educated guesses, but it was clearly not crazy, right? It was not like... I don't know why I said that. It clearly wasn't as structured as, like, Christianity, you know? That's a good question. Thank you. Whenever you guys ask questions, it's always very helpful for organizing my thoughts. Yes. Good. Now I just need to buff up this arcane, which I believe will involve killing fucking Steel Path Stalker a lot. What's a corpus? Sorry, I'm very new to... No, hey, no dumb questions. We do these streams so that we can answer questions like that. A corpus means a body. So all of the collection of texts about Hermeticism or attributed to Hermes Trismegistus is the body of Hermetic texts, and therefore it is called the Hermetic Corpus. There are many other literary corpuses. Like, once we get to Arabic alchemy, there's also the Jabirian corpus, which was a similar deal. What year would you put as a hard limit for the end of the Hermetic corpus? Oh, I have no idea. Fucking 500 AD. But people kept adding to it. Like, in the 20th century, there was the Kybalion, right? It was a bunch of people they called themselves the Three Initiates, and they were like, we wrote another book of Hermetic philosophy, even though it was, like, definitely not Hermetic philosophy and had more to do with, like, the American New Thought movement. It's just, like, you can just add to it, right? The Three Initiates was just one guy, William Walker Atkinson. Maybe. We know that at least one of them was William Walker Atkinson. I don't think there's any real difference between a corpus and a canon. There is. A canon is intended to be like, you can't kick things out of a corpus, but you can kick things out of a canon, right? There's a canon requires an authority over the text, like a clerical class, like rabbis or priests, who can say, this text is no longer canon. It is separated into apocrypha. But, like, the Bible and all Christian apocrypha is the Christian corpus, right? But just the institutionally recognized texts, that's the Christian canon, right? We get mad as shit about it in the Hermeticism Discord. Yup. Fun to think about. Oh, this was an organized group somewhere between a book club and the Catholic Church, but we don't know where in there. Yeah, pretty much. So Luke is in the Star Wars corpus, but not the Star Wars canon. Yup. There you go. If you just lose one of the pages of the corpus, doesn't it get kicked out? Well, yeah, if we don't have it, it's not in the corpus. Like, if it's not there, it's not in the corpus. The thing has to exist for it to be in the corpus. Warframe heads in chat. How do you farm endo? What's the best way to farm endo? Not kicked out so much as lost media. Yeah, maybe that's a better way of saying it. Dun, 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 dun. Arbitrations. Yeah, yeah. I don't have many Ayatan statues. Maybe next Friday we'll do some arbitrations, but I think we're wrapping up here. Yeah, the excavation arbitrations are pretty good. Alright, gang. Hey. Hey. Thank you for coming. If you lasted this long, just remember, I'm able to do shit like this because people support me on Patreon. If you can't, that's totally fine. It's not a requirement. But hey, if you sign up, thank you very much. You help me do shit like this, and it's really fun. Yay! Yay! Join the Discord. There's pictures of my cat, and you get ideas about things. Alright, I'm going to send you over to Trog. Go to Trog now. Bye!